You know, your skin is the most powerful tool you have to know what's going on inside your body. It sends messages, and I was completely deaf to the messages it was sending me.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. So my patients are always asking for advice on how to look younger and healthier. That's all of us, right? When you're confident and comfortable in your own skin, that impacts the way you look and feel. My next guest empowers her patients to nourish their skin and their minds. I'd like to welcome dermatologist Dr. Kira Barr of the Resilient Health Institute. Thank you, Dr. Barr. I appreciate it. Of course. And you have an amazing story. Tell us about, you had some marks that you were trying to hide for a number of years. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was born with 2 birthmarks, one on each side of my face, and as a kid I didn't think much of it. And then I went to elementary school.
Did you get teased about it or anything?
Yeah, kids called them coffee stains. They called me coffee stain face, and it was the first time that I became acutely aware that my skin could be a source of shame, embarrassment, and humiliation. And that shame that I felt, it crushed my self-confidence. And so I wanted to do whatever I could to cover them up. And I quickly discovered that if I got a tan, I could mask them. They almost became invisible. But the problem is that my dad is a redhead with fair skin. And despite my dark hair, I have his skin type.
Yeah.
So I burned severely before I would tan very gradually. But I didn't care, right? Because I was so...
You're self-conscious.
So self-conscious that I just continued to do that over the years. Wound up with hundreds of moles, lots of sun damage, and long story short...
Still didn't stop though, huh?
I still didn't stop.
And here's I think a great teaching point for parents. I'm sure your parents are very supportive, but you've got to talk to your kids, understand where their insecurities come from, because you could really stop some behavior that really could lead to tragedy. So you had all these moles, and then what happened eventually after that?
So when I became a dermatologist, I learned how dangerous my choices really were. And ultimately, I found a spot on my arm that I had to diagnose as melanoma.
Wow.
And so I don't want that experience for anybody else.
And what did that make, do you remember that time when you actually recognized that? And how did that make you feel? Sometimes you need a tragedy like that.
Yeah.
I mean, even though you're doing well, but you need a moment like that to kind of put clarity in it. How did you feel, and what kinds of things did you learn from that?
Yeah, so that was truly a wake-up call. Your skin is the most powerful tool you have to know what's going on inside your body. It sends messages, and I was completely deaf to the messages it was sending me. And it was in those moments that I had to make a change. Your skin tells a story. Some need to be cherished and embraced. Some need to be rewritten. That was my story. I had to rewrite it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I had to change the way I was eating.
And the story that your skin was giving you, you're talking about all the moles that were...
All the moles.
That you just totally ignored.
This is sun damage.
You didn't tan after being a dermatologist, of course.
No.
You didn't. Good. Okay, so but until that time, until you realized how important it was to not do that, you did that. And this is the thing, we're in a society where vanity is everything. And the show is really about looking younger, but it's also your relationship you have with yourself is the most important, and so I think it's really key. In our country, melanoma is pretty prevalent. In which countries is it most prevalent, and what can we do to really stop this? Because it's the deadliest skin cancer we have.
It is, even though it is the least common, it is the most deadly. And so the United States actually ranks in the top 10 of highest incidence of melanoma.
Where you don't want to be in the top 10.
Right, exactly. But New Zealand is actually #1, followed by Australia. But the US is not that far behind. In fact, Michigan is in the top 10 states in the United States for...
And I haven't seen sun in 5 days. So, when we see sun, we must go crazy. And that leads me to the next question is that, what's going on? Why are we seeing higher rates of skin cancer and skin-related disorders? Are we getting more sun, or what's going on?
Well, part of it is ozone layer is thinning. People are not aware that even when it's cloudy, up to 80% of the sun's UV rays are still getting through, so they're not protecting themselves. Then they go on holiday when the weather is terrible, they're trying to get out of the cold, then they get this intense acute exposure and they're just damaging their skin. And this is cumulative year after year after year.
And we know about that craziness in Michigan, because when we we see that warmth, we go out there and get it.
Yeah.
And the other great point you made is that even though the sun is not there, you still have to block the rays.
Yeah.
Are we wearing less clothes as well?
We absolutely are wearing less clothes. Those teeny weeny bikinis, they're cute, but they're not really doing their job to protect your skin. So the things that you need are protective clothing,
Yes.
things that can be rated with an ultraviolet protection factor of 50.
Yes.
Because a cotton t-shirt's not going to give you much.
No.
Hats, sunglasses, and I say that sunscreen should be part of your everyday regimen, but it really should be your last line of defense, not your first.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And because your protective clothing should be your first and everything else, correct?
Well, actually, what should be your first is how you nourish yourself from the inside out. You really need a strong foundation.
Absolutely. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so how we eat, I know that has been, an important topic
Absolutely,
on
for
your
us,
show.
yeah.
But antioxidants, phytonutrients, whole foods, our body has your skin has an innate repair system, but it gets depleted quickly. So by nourishing it with foods that are rich in vitamin A, C, E, selenium, all of that to restore your body's ability to fight the damage from the ultraviolet rays. So important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You've been so informative and awesome. Thank you for all the information. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Partha Nandi, and if you enjoyed that video, you're going to love the next one. It's full of incredible information to help you start your health hero journey.